go.
Marty Mystic here from PodJam TV with another edition of PodJam TV Live. How you doing, Mystic?
I'm good. I'm very excited. We have a very cool guest today.
Very cool guest about a very cool topic.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I learned a lot from her, and I enjoy following her on Twitter and on Google Plus and everywhere else. And I love her blogs. Mm-hmm. She writes a lot.
Yeah. Who are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about Peggy Fitzpatrick.
Peggy Fitzpatrick. Peggy, how are you? Welcome to PodJam TV Live.
Hello. No pressure. Now I have to be cool. Like, that's not hard. Hey. I'm so excited you guys invited me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming on. Now, Peggy is an expert in publishing.
Mm-hmm. She works with authors. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get more details.
We'll let her tell you guys about
what she's been doing. She also writes. She manages several blogs. Oh my goodness!
And manages some social media.
Yes, and she has worked with Guy Kawasaki on the Ape book.
Yeah, we got to hear about that.
Ape book. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Peg.
Okay, first, I have to say, I wouldn't classify myself as an expert in book publishing. I do work with authors and I do work with publishers, but I think that would be like someone way above, me. Social media, sure. So do you want me to say a little bit about the things that I do?
Please.
Absolutely.
Okay. So first I'm a mom and I'm a wife. That comes first. And then I manage the 12 Most blog with my partner, Paul Biederman. We've been running that together. There was two original founders, but we've been running it since, I don't even know. It's been so long now. It seems like forever. And that blog is just great. And that's one of the ways that I've met a lot of writers is through 12 Most. It's all guest posts. Paul and I write, but we also have a lot of guests that write for us. And a lot of our book club guests write for us. And so for 12 Most, hey, 12 Most people who are watching, we have probably 1,200 posts on there so far. And we work with like 250, 275 different writers, like tons. So it's a really big project it's a passion project that doesn't pay. but we love it because our community is really great. And we also, I started a book club online. That was my first kind of big thing that I did. When I started Twitter, I kind of started out like everybody else. You don't really have too many followers. And, what do you like? I went to a lot of Twitter chats. I don't know about you guys, but that was one of the things I did a lot when I was really new. And what I found was that there was tons of people in social media that like to read. Which is amazing to me because in everyday life now, you don't find as many people who are reading books. Yep. But social media people all seem to love to read and learn. And I think maybe that's because social media was so new. We're talking a couple of years ago. So everybody wanted to learn about it. And there wasn't too many books on the topic, specifically social media at that point. But I was in leadership chat. I don't know if you guys have ever run in that before. Yes. And I was talking to Angela Myers, and I was like, I'm just going to start a book club. And Angela was reading Enchantment. So I was like, fine, I'm going to do Enchantment. She said it was great. So I'm like, I picked Enchantment. I tweeted. And I was like, my first book club is going to be, I picked the date right then and the time right then. And I mentioned Guy right then because I wasn't that new at Twitter. I did know how to mention people. I was actually pretty good by then already. But so I tweeted that and I left my computer and I came back and Guy had tweeted me back and said, hey, do you want me to do a Skype call for your book club? Because he didn't realize that it was online. It was just like a tweet. It didn't really say like what I didn't even know exactly what I was doing. I was just like, I'm going to do a chat. It's going to be about books. And I knew I was going to do it once a month, which is actually really hard for a Twitter chat because most of them are weekly.
Right. Yeah, people wait for it, right?
Yeah. Well, my initial thing was I wanted to read books with people through the month and then have the chat and then discuss the book. But nobody ahead. I read all the books ahead. I read all of the books. You can see See my little.
Yes.
That's quite a pile.
Those are all book club books. They're in order by color now. That's the kind of girl I am. So that's how I got started with book club. And Guy was actually my first guest.
Okay, so that was actually our first question. It's like,
Yep.
Why did you start the book club?
Because I love to read.
Me too. I actually love to read, and you're right. I mean, I didn't know that a lot of people want to read too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I post something like, "Oh, I'm reading this chapter," and then I would get a lot of feedback on Twitter. I guess that makes a lot of sense. But when did you start working with authors?
Well, I started, right with book club. Then I was like lining up other guests, and then I have the book club authors write for 12 Most.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is really nice because then it's like a little lead into their book club chat. So that's how that was really how that started. So most of the authors I work with, I'm booked like right now. I'm booked through July.
Wow.
So I'm booked really far out.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with some of the publishers, some of the big publishers. McGraw-Hill we work with frequently. They'll send us like lists of books, are you interested in these, what they have coming out. I've also worked with, I think it's AMA, Penguin Publishing. Hey, we'd love to have some of your books, Penguin. We haven't had that yet. But McGraw-Hill is, we've worked with them quite a bit, Paul and I have. So it's been nice. It's interesting to see like how the traditionally published authors,
exactly
what they do. That's what I've learned. It's like working with Mark Schaefer. He's done a couple books with us now. And, it's really interesting. I've picked such awesome authors that now they're all in their second and third books for book club. So I really only need like 12 and they can just come back every year. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So the book, I'm really interested now because I'm trying to write my book, but it's really more of a children's kind of book.
That's awesome.
I do my illustrations.
Illustrations, yeah.
Do you only accept or talk to people? What kind of books or categories do you?
So far, we've focused on social media, business, and marketing. That's kind of the same focus as 12 Most. We have a lifestyle category also, but they kind of work together. And honestly, it's really been books that I wanted to read, Misty. So like I started with Enchantment and then I went to Fascinate. I don't know if you know that book by Sally. It's really good. So it's like I've just picked and then I met Olivier Blanchard at the first conference I went to. Yeah. I had him on for social media ROI. Mm-hmm. So it's like things that I personally wanted to learn. And so the people that kind of follow book club are people like us that are doing social media. So I'm typically following things like that.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you.
Excellent.
And maybe we should go to the next question.
Absolutely. You seem like a very busy person.
Well, she is very busy.
Very busy.
We are actually pretty lucky. We got her in the schedule. I scheduled with her like a long time ago because I knew she was going to be really, really busy. So, she manages several websites and she writes a lot of posts.
I write a lot of posts. True, I have a great one coming out tomorrow.
You're like Misty.
Yeah, awesome.
But it's can you share with us what your typical day is like?
It's long. My typical day is long. Honestly, I'm a person who doesn't require a lot of sleep. Not that I'm Martha Stewart, like 4 hours of sleep, but I don't need like a ton. And I do work really all day because you guys know social media is like, it's going all the time. I do schedule stuff through Buffer. I love Buffer app. I love Leo at Buffer. Hi, Leo.
Yeah, we had them on one of our first shows.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Buffer app is like savior. And I use Do Share also on Google+. I'm not sure if you guys use that. Yes. I love Chrome extensions are like the best. So I try to work on things. I multitask, even though they say now that you can't truly multitask. But when I'm working on things, if I see something, I just throw it into my Buffer and, reorganize them later. And I think that is, it's really just being organized. I'm organized and I work ahead. I work ahead on everything and I plan ahead. So I know what I want to do this week coming up. I know, I always have a post out on Monday. I don't know if you guys have certain days that you schedule that you always write. Ideally, I would write more than that, but right now I'm kind of at one because I'm really busy. And to write, I have to turn everything else off. I can't have TweetDeck open and other things open because it draws your focus and then you're like, forget it. So I schedule things in advance. That's just how I'm organized. I make lists. I like 12 most we have scheduled out 4 to 5, sometimes 6 weeks in advance.
Nice.
Paul and I work way ahead. So we don't like last minute things. We like, so things always come up. Something can be wrong with a photo. Something may be wrong in someone's bio or something, but then you just have that one little thing to fix. So we never run like last minute post because I have, we're managing a lot of other stuff. We have other stuff that we're doing. So being organized is like the key. Some people just like to wing everything and not plan and organize. But for me, I like to know what my week looks like ahead because emergencies always pop up. And I tell you, the one thing that's happened to me is my internet has been out for the last 2 weeks. It keeps coming. Yeah.
Oh, no.
No Wi-Fi. And I'm like, hello, Time Warner. I really need internet. You don't understand how much I use internet. Like I may be using all the internet in New Hampshire at my house. And they're like, fine. What is your phone number? They don't care. They're like, whatever number 800, whatever customer number I have. But, they did come out. They were very nice. They did fix it for me, but it kept going out. And I was like, seriously, that's the one thing that you can't fix. You can't do anything if you have no internet, and I can't work I don't know how many people work at Starbucks. I know it's a lot. I can't do that. There's like people and, it's too loud for me. Do you guys ever do that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we'll go there. We'll bring our iPads and our equipment there, but usually it's not for serious work. Usually it's just for...
Or it's really more of like us discussing what we want to do and not...
Right, so you're planning and that's
just changing.
It's more
just
of
changing.
Like talking.
Yeah, just changing the location, changing the scenery a little bit. So it sounds like for you, prioritization is very important. And planning ahead because we can identify with that too, but because with the blog posts, consistency is probably key.
Yes.
And if you can't get to something, at least you have something in the buffer.
Right.
And it can be scheduled to be published out. And then at least people can expect, I can expect a new article every week or whatever the schedule is. So
yeah, so we'll put in the show notes Peggy's tools is buffer, and then she also do share for Google Plus.
Yeah,
it's a really good one. Yeah.
Now, getting on working with authors, I know one of the authors you work with, and I know it's got to be some great story. Yeah, I joined a hangout with you.
You did, right?
With a very famous author of yours, Guy Kawasaki.
That was Jessica's twang out.
Yes. And Guy just wrote a book, Ape, and that stands for
author, publisher, entrepreneur. It's how to publish a book, how to self-publish a book. And actually since then, I don't know how much you guys looked at my stuff. There's a lot of information about me. I actually have a chapter myself in Ape now.
Yes.
In the edition that just came out on Pinterest. Pinterest for authors.
Awesome.
Oh, that must be awesome.
Yeah.
So what's it like to work with Guy?
He's
awesome. And let me set this up. Yep. I'm an Apple guy. Yeah. So, the history of the Guy Kawasaki, for the folks who don't know, he was an evangelist, product evangelist for Apple in the 80s and I believe in the 90s. And then when I was on the Hangout, I said, I'm going to ask him about Apple. Come to find out, he switched over to Android. So that was an interesting discussion. But I saw him at South by Southwest, and I saw him at
and you got his book signed. One of
his books signed. He's a very interesting guy, so it must be very interesting working with him. So kind of tell us the inside secrets. What's it like working with an author like Guy?
It's the best job in social media. He's awesome. He's fun and funny and ridiculously smart, as everybody knows. So it's great. It's great to work with him and working.
And he's a real person.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how sometimes there are the famous people on social media, but I remember seeing him one time in Blog World.
Oh, yes.
He smiles a lot.
I took a bunch of pictures.
And he lights up the room. I think that's one thing that I like about him is very
passionate, very excited.
Very human and very passionate about what he does.
And it seems like he's always going.
He is always going. He's always doing something. That is very true. Yes.
Sorry. So you said you had your story in a chapter?
Yes. Well, actually, I mean, if you go back to What the Plus, I mean, the little segue that leads to all that, after book club, when Guy was a guest, then his next book he had out was What the Plus, which he wrote about how to use Google Plus. And he asked me, first he wanted to put my profile picture in there. So there's a little section where I'm like in there is the example of like a good profile picture, that's pretty flattering, awesome, you know? Yeah. So then he asked if I wanted to read the book while, you know, he always has people read his books while he's writing them to get their critique. And so I was reading that as he was writing it, which was awesome. And then I actually have a chapter in that book that's about being his advice is from him. Of course, he knows what he does in social media. And every once in a while I would say, hey, you know, like if you're new, you can't do that. You have to do this if you're like a newer person. So my chapter in What the Plus is like, if you don't have a couple million followers, you might want to try these tips to maybe get a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand as you build them up. So then that led to working on Ape, because then when he was writing that book, then I started reading that book, and that led to, you know, him being a guest on book club. That was done for the third time for Ape, and Sean Welch, the co-author of Ape. So they were on my book club again, and then Google Plus communities started. Right, it was like when Ape launched, and we Guy started a community and Sean started a community for Ape, and so then I moderate that community, so we're like in there all the time, and now we do hangouts and we're doing all kinds of stuff with authors that are in that group, which is really, really awesome. That's really working with authors, because all these people are like working on their covers and they're like, how do I, you know, there's people all different stages, all different books, so it's a great community.
And you find the Google Plus communities, I know that's a fairly new product that they have, that's pretty successful as far as you know, building your community.
Well, I kind of I was building communities with people on there. I had already made connections. I've been on Google Plus since the first day that it started. I got the invite and I've been on there. It's taken, I would say, a little bit longer to build. It's different than Twitter. It's like, to me, Google Plus is like a combination of Facebook and Twitter. You know, there's great conversation like Facebook, but it moves faster like Twitter. And there's really good engagement. Communities really just like change the whole makeup of Google Plus. And now a lot of people who weren't on at all just love the community aspect of it. And it's easier to connect with people that way. And then you can move out and talk to people that way. But yeah, Google Plus communities are amazing. Are you guys in any communities?
Yeah, a lot.
Oh yeah,
I joined a lot of communities,
and I'm getting invitations, and
I learn a lot.
Yeah,
and I tried putting on some of my drawings, and I do get because I joined illustrators communities, and graphic designers. So and I have like something that I need feedback on. I put it on there, and then people would like it or say,
give suggestions.
Change this or do that. So I think, you're right. Community is a great way.
Do you ever do illustrations for other people's books, Misty?
I haven't yet.
Because there's authors in our Ape. There's authors in our Ape group that are looking for illustrators. And since you're writing a book, you should come in and you can meet them all.
Oh, awesome. I will do that.
There are actually in our first hangout, one of the ladies, Amina, is writing a children's book.
Oh, awesome.
So
I should go and join you.
Yeah, you need to be
writing a book. You definitely should.
Yes, I will. That'd be exciting.
With all the technology going on with social and now with publishing changing so much, You don't, you know, I know this is the focus of Guy's book. You don't really need a publisher anymore. You can do it yourself. Do you have any tips or any guidance for people who might have a book in them and don't know where to start? And, you know,
they're contemplating on, you know, self-publishing a book. Do you have any tips?
Honestly, I would get the book, get 8, because it goes step by step in 3 sections. The author, literally how to write. Like that's why I got my Mac. That's one of the recommendations, is to have a Mac laptop.
Awesome.
And use, and it's coming from Guy, who's written 12 books, and Sean has written 3 books, maybe more, but I think 3. He's written Ape, and then a couple on iOS app development, because he's a developer.
Oh, okay.
He's very high tech. Sean is like ridiculously high tech. So Sean wrote most of the publishing section, which is the really tricky parts. They give you step by step how to do it, but here's the honest thing: like, every person is not going to be able to do like every single part of it themselves. Like I might be able to write the book, but I could never design a cover for myself. I'm not an artist. I'm not a designer. I'm creative, and I could make something colorful, but it wouldn't be a good cover, you know? So I would need to hire someone for my cover. And you definitely, like, everybody needs to have a professional editor, because as much as you think you don't make mistakes, you definitely, honestly, I leave words out when I write. That's like my thing. And then when I read back in, I put it back, I put the words in every time.
The best authors have editors.
Yeah. You need to have an editor. So don't self-publish and don't have an editor, because, you know, you can't skimp on it. But the book goes step by step, like everything, how to write it. And then Sean goes into the really high tech part. Some people might not be able to handle that at all. I mean, like, just doing the digital part of it and transferring it in from InDesign. If you don't have InDesign, that's a really expensive program. And I think it's hard to use. I don't know. I don't have it. Do you guys have InDesign?
No.
So that, you know, you need InDesign to like transfer it to like Mobi and these other kinds of files to send them to Amazon and Nook. And each one of the e-publishing sites has their own format. So it's not like you can just take a Word document and send it to Amazon and send it to Nook. They each have their own style of formatting. So it's very technical.
So it sounds like you really need to assemble a team. So you might be able to write, but it's a good idea to get someone else to edit, you know, and then if you're not, and you may be a writer and a designer, so whatever you can handle, that's fine, but you probably need to try to assemble a team. And that doesn't mean necessarily going to a publisher and letting them do it. You can also assemble your own team and get this thing done.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Excellent. What are the challenges? Now, you work with many authors. What are some of the challenges that you've encountered working with authors, and how have you overcome those challenges?
I haven't had any challenges working with authors. Honestly, I haven't. They're amazing. I'm serious. Like, everybody I've had for book club's been awesome. But, you know, book club is something that Paul and I do that. We're promoting their books. So for the authors that we have on, it's a really great thing. You know, we're like, hey, can you come on and we'll talk about your book for a month and a half? You know, so it actually helps the authors that we have on. It boosts sales, you know, and gets the word out for their books. That's one thing I would recommend to people who are authors. If they're new self-publishing authors, you know, they really need to make connections with people so they get invited to things like being on your show and to being a guest on a chat. Because for a lot of people, I mean, okay, everybody wants Guy. Like anything that everybody would want him to come on. That's one thing. But for me, say I'm writing a book, everybody doesn't know who I am. So I have people that I have connections that I know, that I've talked to, you know, so it's different when you're, and people who are just starting out, it would be even more of a challenge for them. You know, like say it was your first week or two on Twitter, you know?
Yeah.
That's a great segue to our next question. Building networks are so important. I mean, we've seen the value of that, getting out there online, even getting out there in person. And again, it takes time. And I would think social media is a great tool for that. You know, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, all the major platforms. Do you have a recommendation as far as a certain social platform that authors should be using to build their networks out?
You know, I do love Twitter, but I think Twitter and Google Plus take an equal amount of time to get to build a network. They both are very time consuming. Facebook to me is more like your friends and family, and you know, they're either going to buy your book or they're not. It's kind of not like a social media thing. And Facebook pages are really hard to get people to like them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, it's just a lot of work to get, I don't know how you guys have done with yours, but it's a lot of work, you know, consistently getting people to like your pages. We're Google Plus, you set up your profile and then you automatically are getting SEO on Google for that. So it's hard to even, you know, that's like a kind of a no brainer. Like if I was just starting out, I think I would be on Google Plus.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah,
and
you're right. Like
because of the search and
yeah, exactly. Yes. Like you're right. I mean, it's a good point as well, because I see a lot of some of the authors try to, you know, do a page on Facebook, but it's you are so right.
I have to say,
it takes a lot of effort, and sometimes they would need to do contests. They would do a lot of other stuff just for people to see what's happening.
And you have to follow Facebook terms of service. You have to have a third-party app to do it. It's a little more challenging. And I don't know if you guys have compared the different ones, but to me, Google Plus has the most amazing profile because you have unlimited links that you can put in there. You can write as much as you want. You can put links to everything. Twitter, you have just 120 characters. It's even less than a tweet. So you really are limited to try to get a couple like words that you want people to search for you.
Exactly.
You know, you don't have too much space in there. So Google Plus, you can just put so much in that profile. I love that profile. I don't know if you guys have.
Oh yeah, you know, I have all my links.
We have that there. I mean, it's funny. That's something that we really need to get more involved with. I mean, speaking with people like yourself who really have gotten involved in Google Plus, and now we do the show using Google Plus Hangouts, and we realize what a wonderful platform that is. And then, you know, I think everyone forgets, and it's a great reminder that you brought up, the connection with Google itself being the #1 search engine and all the SEO and search you get from it. It's all interconnected. And then you bring in YouTube, and it starts to build this whole huge platform that can really build out your network quite a
and with your blog, you do the Google author. Did you guys do the authorship for your blog? So it's all, you know, it bumps you up. Everything that you do, your Google Plus posts get pretty good Google search rankings. I don't think Facebook, I think, goes on Google, but it's not that high. And tweets go on there, but they're so small. It's not like it's going to, you know.
Unless it goes viral. Like we're pretty lucky with Twitter. And our articles get picked up by a lot of others. Like what is that? It gets picked up by news feeds. So we're pretty lucky with that. But you're right. We need to be a little bit more, you know, conscious and put it on Google Plus.
And using the tools. I mean, Google Plus is still the new network on the block. Twitter and Facebook have been around a lot longer. Before Google Plus, that's all there was, and you saw a lot more visibility of Twitter and Facebook in the Google search results. But now, you're right. It leads off with Google Plus, and if the Google products will tend to rise to the top. So it makes a lot of sense if you're not already involved.
And when they search your name, even if you have a Google profile, it will actually have its own box on the right side of the page on Google. On
Gmail. On Gmail, even your latest post goes in there now.
Exactly.
So you don't want your latest post to be a month ago.
That's right. That's right.
I've been very consistent though with all our posts. I place it everywhere. So
now, speaking of social and book and authors, and using social platforms, you recommend using a professional or hiring a professional to promote your book, or doing it yourself, or a combination? How do you feel about that?
Well, I work in social media, so I would say if you can't do it at all, that you should hire someone. And I think that's a really new idea, and that's not Guy's idea in the book, but that's my thought. Because if you don't, he tells in the book, he says that you should start, you know, like a year in advance building your social platform. But if you're starting from like, okay, I published my book last week, it's not really going anywhere, I don't have any reviews, I think that in some instances you do need to hire professionals for PR and for social media, because if you haven't done it and you don't know how, it's not that easy to get started, and there's a lot of stuff to do. I do think that people can learn how to do social media on their own, but it is a time thing, as you know. But I think authors in general, authors are so creative and so good at writing that social media is a really good fit for a lot of authors. I love some of my favorite people that I follow on Facebook are actually authors that they write great posts. They're interesting and fun. Mm-hmm. And they're insightful. Elizabeth Gilbert that wrote Eat, Pray, Love is one of my favorite. I love following her on Facebook. Mm-hmm. She writes good stuff. So I think that they have the skills needed for social media. It's the time. Yep. And if they've put in the work ahead of time, because you can't just show up and expect people to be excited
and jump for joy, right?
Right. Oh, look, Misty wrote a book. I've never heard of her, but awesome. Can't wait to get it. But the thing that I see a lot of authors doing that are new is they only post stuff about their book, which you and I know that you can't do that in social media. You can't just talk about, this is Misty's book. This is my book. Did you read my book? Have you? No one's going to follow you, but I see a lot of new authors doing that. They only talk about their book.
Right.
So that's a mistake.
Especially when you have no relationship with your followers and you're trying to build a network. Yeah, I'm working with someone now who is brand new to social media, and I know Misty, both and I, and you, all three of us have been on Twitter for years and years, way back when it started. And we haven't gotten to this point overnight. It takes many years to kind of build this network. Just like in real life. I mean, you don't meet someone at a party
and then
or
your
at
best
a gathering.
Friends right away.
And your best friends right away. You're usually meeting with them a couple times, right? And kind of building that relationship. Same thing online. Online is just a different tool, and it broadens your pool of possible contacts. But it still takes the same amount of work, same amount of time. And for authors, I mean, relationships do matter, and they are a tremendous benefit, but it takes a lot of time. So I would imagine a professional would help greatly.
Yeah, and that is a great tip from you. I mean, for all of those who's going to be listening, who are listening, who are watching, I think they would see all of this. Oh, we don't know this, you know. Yeah.
Right.
So. I think it's even it doesn't seem new to us because all three of us have been on social media for so long, but it's still so new for people to pay people to help them to do stuff. Mm-hmm. One of the things that, like people's bios and their Twitter profiles and the art, all those things really matter. Your cover photo really matters. Your Twitter background really, really matters. You can't just you can't leave it as a default thing, which is the worst. But the second worst is putting up something really bad. And like I said, I'm not a designer, so my stuff is professionally done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
you're going to have to pay a little bit, especially if you're a writer. You need to have a good cover for your book, and you should coordinate your other things to go with it. Everything isn't going to be free.
Well, it's all about personal brand. I mean, you're putting yourself out there.
Right.
And I look at it as an opportunity. I mean, a lot of people, I know there's some controversy on social media, like especially for just normal people just having fun and a lot of privacy and all that. But I look at it the other way. I look at it as an opportunity for everybody to have their own platform. If for example, if you're looking for a job and you expect to use a resume and send it out, that's not going to cut it anymore. Mm-mm. Look at all these tools as an opportunity to put your best foot forward, really, build on your personal brand. Mm-hmm. And you got to think about all these little details. All these little things communicate what you're all about.
I don't know how that got to be such a bad word or phrase. Personal branding is like this bad word in social media. Well, every time you tweet, everything that you do, it creates a total package. So if somebody only pulls up my Twitter profile, that's all they see. Mm-hmm. But then if they like that and they click through to my website and they see, oh, my website matches, that's kind of, so like all my stuff segues to the next thing. And then you go to this one and it matches and this, and they're coordinated, and you have to tailor each piece to the network you're on. That's another thing that I see that people don't do. They're not all exactly the same. You need to be consistent with your photos and your information, but change it a little bit too for the platform. But yeah, personal branding, everybody does it. It doesn't mean that you're a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah. And we exactly. And we could probably have a whole show about that. In fact, we're coming up to our 30-minute mark. We went a little past, so we're going to wrap things up. But I mean, this has been a tremendous 35 minutes.
Yes.
Sorry, I went over.
No. Tons of information. In fact, we're probably going to want to have you back because I think we can get a lot of discussions.
Especially in Google Plus.
Oh, yes. I think that's a mystery for a lot of people.
And we've, before the pre-show, we were doing a conversation with you, and I was like, oh, yeah, And I know like our listeners would be happy to get.
I don't think they really realize how it all fits together, and especially if you're in any kind of business and you're trying to build a brand or build a network. I mean, there's a lot of valuable stuff out there that certainly Google Plus can certainly help with. Yeah. Peggy, it's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me. It was
exciting. TV Live.
Yeah.
Let people know where they can find you. You have anything coming up?
Internet.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm everywhere. That's what people always say. You're everywhere. I'm on my own blog at pegfitzpatrick.com. I'm on Google Plus. I'm on Twitter at pegfitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. You can check out 12 Most, which is an awesome site. There's something great every day there. I have a book club website. My book club too. I'm also on blog.apethebook.com. We have a blog there that's for Ape the Book that has hangouts that we've done and Twitter chats we've done and things like that. It has a social media pieces. I probably write other places. Oh, social. Can't even spit it out now. I write for another blog too. That's a collective, Social Solutions Collective, which is all women, and it's awesome. And everybody has their own focus, and mine is Google Plus. So that's a great site. And it's their first. They're very new. It's only like 4 months old, but they were in the running for the top 25 for Social Media Examiner Hot Blogs of the Year. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Plus, we'll make sure that all of these links will be posted on the show notes so that people can follow you.
People can follow
everywhere.
You. Absolutely. Well, Peg, thank you very much for being our guest. You want us to talk a little bit about next week?
Oh, yeah. We have
Peg, you might know this person.
Yeah. We have Tony Bennett. Next week, and we're going to talk about Instagram.
Yes. Now, Tony, how many followers do Tony have on Instagram?
I think he has over 98,000 people following.
He's like a virtuoso on
And I love all his photos. So we will get some tips on, how he does great photography using, your camera and your phone as your camera.
The camera you have with you is your phone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's Tony's video debut.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is.
Look out for that.
All
Peg,
right.
What do you think of that? You know Tony?
Yes, I do.
There
you go. See?
Socially Genius, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Tony, we're can't wait for you
You're
next
up.
week.
You're up. No pressure.
No pressure. Well, Peg, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
We hope we can get you back here again.
Yeah, we need to talk. We need to extend this discussion. A lot of good stuff coming out.
Yes.
Sure.
So I think that'll do it. Mm-hmm. So this has been Marty and Misty, PodJam TV, with another edition of PodJam TV Live. We will see you next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, every Sunday night.
That's it. Bye.
Bye. Go.